What's up, people? It's Monday Night Football. We're here with Squirrel Patrol. I'm Chop. We're gonna break you down some info about this game tonight, Seattle and the Giants, and just walk you up to. We got 35 minutes or so until this thing locks up. So that's how long we're here for. If you don't know what's going on here, first of all, just ask all the questions. Fire off all the questions you want in chat. We're gonna answer them. That's what we're here for. Basically, I'd rather answer questions and sit here and regurgitate the same stuff to you that we all said on the survey and we did on all the written content. So let's get some new stuff. Let's get some new questions in there. But Monday nights, it's Squirrel joining me here, and if you didn't know, the dude is fairly fresh off of a $1 million hit on Monday Night Football on this show. He did it pre-lock, gave us the blueprint, then went out and delivered the goods. So Squirrel, how you doing, man?
Good. I mean, it's been 2 weeks, so it feels like a long time. But yeah, hopefully run it back tonight, and we'll see. So I think there's $1 million up top on the DraftKings single game slate. So it should be a fun slate. It's got one of the higher point totals of the week. Like I didn't even realize that because like point totals have been trending down this year. I saw like 47 and a half, and I thought, oh, it's about average. Would have been one of the higher point total games on the main slate. So we have some defenses that are a little bit questionable, and some offenses that can put some points on the board. So it should be a fun game.
So my question to you, this is going to be a series of questions here. What do you find? What are you looking forward to the most? Monday Night Football tonight, or the MLB playoffs starting tomorrow?
Oh, definitely Monday Night Football tonight. Just in terms of DFS, yeah. I mean, the playoff baseball slates are a little bit questionable because they kind of go throughout the day. I haven't taken a strong look at it yet. But yeah, Monday Night Football Showdown. I mean, there's $1 million up top. You can't get better than that.
So then the next question: Monday Night Football or the NBA season right around the corner in a month?
NBA season.
Oh, okay.
There'll be $1 million up top multiple times throughout the NBA season. So yeah, NBA is always a lot of fun. It's just constant action, especially with DFS, your little wheels or whatever you're looking at on your app or just flying up and down across the screen. So NBA is always fun.
NBA season. Do you look forward to more NBA season or National Squirrel Day in March?
Ooh, what day is National Squirrel Day? Like what? Do you know what March was?
I couldn't give you the exact date.
That's got to be National Squirrel season.
Okay, fair enough. So you seriously though, would you rather? What's your best sport? Is it? It sounds like it's basketball.
Probably basketball, but honestly, it's so close between basketball and baseball that it flips back and forth depending on the season.
Fair enough. Good to know. All right, guys, let's get some questions here. Let's crank off this thing with some questions just to get the people, make sure they get in the plays that they want in a timely manner. Victor Alicia he cuts right to the chase. Who's the best captain to play today?
Yeah, it's Daniel Jones. I want to give some like crazy off the board answer, like, oh, nobody's on this guy. I think Daniel Jones is going to be the most popular captain, but I'm more comfortable eating like high ownership of captain tonight than I normally am because I think there's a bunch of wide receivers you can go to that are not going to be very highly owned and have like a pretty decent chance of putting up a score that can end up in the winning lineup.
I'm gonna agree with that. I've done one lineup tonight, and it's got Daniel Jones at captain, and I do like receivers in the captain spot on DraftKings, but Daniel Jones doesn't really have a number one that you can rely on, so it kind of puts him up above those guys. On the other side, Seattle. Just a little spoiler for me. I kind of think the Giants are going to play well tonight. I think they're going to hang in. I don't know if they get this, they cover the spread or win this game outright at the end, but I think they play well. So I'm kind of on the Giants more than Seahawks here, and Daniel Jones, because he just doesn't have that definitive guy, man. I can turn to. If it was Dak Prescott, hey, we could go CeeDee Lamb. If it was, I don't know, name another quarterback. Jalen Hurts, well, we probably go A.J. Brown. At very worst, we go Devontae. There's a pecking order most teams have. Giants don't really have that, man. They're just kind of tossed. We're still waiting for like a 20-yard game out of Darren Waller. We don't have any ideas what's going to happen to the receiving corps, but I'm with you on that one. Daniel Jones, my favorite Captain also. Geno Smith revenge game. Yeah, if you're into that. I don't know. Are you into things like the revenge game?
No, I'm more into contract situations. Like revenge game, like you don't know how these guys necessarily left the team. I mean, maybe sometimes it's going to be a factor, but more often than not, we don't know how. Like, if the guy signs with other teams, a free agent, even if he gets released, I think that's okay. Like contract narratives, I buy into heavily. Where especially
So
into the season NFL, like
yeah.
the guy needs one catch to get a bonus. I'll
So
play for that.
let me ask you this: is if you're not into that, then I'm guessing you're not into these numbers either. Daniel Jones in primetime games, 0 for 6 on Monday Night Football, 1 for 11 overall in primetime, and been outscored 70-12 this year in primetime. So you're not into that. That doesn't mean anything to you.
Probably not. I wasn't there the famous falling down, right? He like broke a 70-yard run and like tripped and fell down as he was heading into the end zone. Somebody just touched him and he was down. Yeah, I don't really buy into that. Who was the last guy that had like a prime time issue? It was like Kirk Cousins. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I think small sample size, and I honestly like I care more about DFS points and his ability to get in the end zone, maybe right as a rusher than I do about the team's actual record. I mean, if Giants fall down big, but Daniel Jones ends up getting 2 rushing touchdowns and then 2 passing touchdowns, even if they lose the game, he can go 0 for 11 in primetime games over his career. It's fine with me.
Yeah, definitely give credit where it's due. That was Underdog Fantasy. I saw their tweet, so definitely don't want to keep them from getting the credit there. Nathius J. I'm not. My bad if I'm pronouncing that wrong. JSN Jackson Smith and Jigba over 100 yards receiving finally tonight. Squirrel.
Oh, I don't know about that.
At some point, he's going to break out. He's really good.
Yeah. So yeah, he's a first round pick. So I think he'll come on. It's just you have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett still there, and they're both healthy right now. So I don't know if this is going to be his breakout game. I mean, it's obviously somebody you can play. I don't think like I'm not going out of my way to be underweight on him. I was actually, the Seattle tight end situation was a little bit of a question just until inactives came out. We didn't know if like Noah Fant was going to miss the game, if Will Dissly was going to maybe miss the game. I think they were both listed as questionable. And if one or both of them had been out, I would have been, maybe anticipating a bigger game from JSN with the whole receiving core healthy. Probably not the night. Maybe more likely down the road in the season. But I'm not. I think I'm just about at the field on him tonight.
Yeah, and I apologize here. I was just making up the March Squirrel Day thing. Actually, J3 points out that National Squirrel Appreciation Day is January 21st. So that changes things. Now, you're in the same vicinity there, time-wise, as Martin Luther King Jr. birthday, some President's Day. You're up there with the great ones right there. That's quite the honor they bestow upon you there, man.
Yeah.
Butthole Jenkins says, I need the fill it in the plums play. Now, you know that's coming at the end, Mr. Jenkins. We're going to get the fill it in the plums play of the night later on. Here you go. This is the second one. Lip asked this, and then I had another question for us earlier via another media outlet that says he wants to know your thoughts on Brightwell without Saquon tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I love me some backup running backs, right? I think it's backup running back season. It used to be backup tight ends on Showdown. I think now it's backup running backs. I like Brightwell a lot as a play. I think I don't think I'm going to have as much Kenneth Walker as the field, and that's going to get like distributed to some Matt Breida and Gary Brightwell.
Yeah, fair enough. Thoughts on FanDuel, large fields, and single entry? What's kind of direction you going on FanDuel for large fields?
It's so for a super large field, like I'd still probably be at or over the field on Daniel Jones MVP, but I think you want to be sticking in like some of his lower priced wide receivers, like 2 guys that I wrote up, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt. Like they're not going to project well, but they could have big games. Like either one of them could have a breakout game. Like we're talking about JSN. Jalen Hyatt is also he's a 3rd round wide receiver, but the Giants have less up top the receiving core than Seattle does, right? Like, so there's no, for Hyatt, there's no Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf like standing in his way. So I'm a little bit higher on the Giants, like low priced wide receivers for this game, and I'd maybe stick one of those guys like who's going to be maybe a little lower owned in, and hope that gets me different enough.
Yeah. Okay. We got your take on Jackson Smith and Jigba already. Is this a seasonal long show? I mean, if you want to ask season long questions, I'll answer them. I'm on the verge of like 1-3 here, so but I can get you going. I can answer that. He wants to know FanDuel large field favorite MVP for me. I'm going Kenneth Walker, and Squirrel just kind of talked about who he likes in that format. Thoughts on Robinson? I'm assuming Wan'Dale Robinson on DraftKings. Squirrel, what you think about Wan'Dale?
I like him. I like him a lot. He was, he was really trending upwards last year until he got injured, and now he's back. He played limited snaps last week, but I think he's back, and I think he's gonna maybe trend upwards as the season goes on. It's just a question, are they gonna take him from limited snaps last week to now he's playing full snaps? So maybe not, but he's cheap. So he's got a lot of leeway if he just gets in the end zone or catches 7-8 passes. He's got a lot of leeway, and he's a player that's got a lot of talent that's probably been overlooked just because he was, I think, hurt to start last year, then came back and then got hurt with a season-ending injury. So I'm high on him, and I think he's a guy that I want to be able to deal on.
Doug Harrelson is asking DK tournament 1,500 people, Paris Campbell or Wan'Dale, and you kind of just gave your thoughts on Wan'Dale. I would say for me, when I was doing research earlier, Paris Campbell kind of jumped out to me as a guy. Maybe tonight is a good night for him. So I would lean Paris Campbell there. I'm assuming after everything you just said, you would lean Wan'Dale in that spot.
Yeah, but I do think it's pretty close. Like, I'm not down on Paris Campbell. Really, my main stance going into this game is I want to be over the field on like Giants wide receivers, and just kind of mixing and matching through. If you're doing like 20 lineups, 150 lineups, whatever it is, like I want to sort of mix and match these guys because it's impossible to predict, but that puts people off of them, right? Like, we don't know, is Campbell going to maybe lose some snaps to Wan'Dale Robinson or to Jalen Hyatt? Maybe not. So I'm just going to mix and match these guys and hope that one of them breaks out and I've got the right combination.
Yeah, I mean we're playing Daniel Jones in the top spot, so we need some pass catchers with him, right? Like, we're playing him. I assume your theory is we're playing him. Yes, he has some running upside, that's for sure. But we're playing him because he's going to get something through the air. So it would be only natural that it comes to somebody, it goes to somebody. So we got to stick one or two. How many receivers we stick with Daniel Jones tonight?
I think I'm doing 2 with most of my lineups, and that's actually a change from how I maybe would have approached it in a different context because he's got rushing upside. So you can get away with one. And if you love your lineup and you've only got him paired with one wide receiver, I think that's okay. Hopefully, it's one of the lower owned guys. But he's not so much of a rusher. Like, he's not like a Fields or Lamar Jackson, where he's be putting up like 60, 80-yard rushing games. And he can get there, but that's going to be lesser than those guys. So if he's getting in there in the MVP or the captain spot, he's probably bringing two wide receivers. And also, that's just a way I wanted to get over the field on the Giants wide receivers as well. It's just like forcing in 2 with every Daniel Jones MVP or captain lineup.
Yeah, Joe Van asked an interesting question. I'm going to give this one to you because you are, this kind of right up your alley. Are there any fundamental heuristics you always use when creating lineups for GPP showdowns?
I'm not entirely sure I know what the heuristics are. I generally do make some rules, right? Like forcing in 2 wide receivers or 2 wide receivers or tight ends or 2 pass catchers in general with my captain at quarterback lineups. And I do the reverse, right? Like if I'm not using, I don't want to use like 3 wide receivers from the same team or 3 combination of pass catchers unless the quarterback is there as the captain or the MVP. So that's just a couple of things I do. And maybe want to limit running backs from the same team. Sometimes, not always. And then I tend to limit defenses against the quarterback and defenses against the team.
Yep. You answered that pretty good for a guy who didn't know the definition of the word, but you were right up the alley there. I would say, for me, I have a ton of rules I'm going to run on the main slates. On showdowns, everything gets deleted and erased, and it's on a game-by-game basis. Like, I don't really care, sometimes I do want 2 running backs from the same team in the same lineup. Sometimes I don't, so it's all just game-by-game. So general DK showdown, methods, no, not really. It's always game-by-game, Jovan. But that's a good question because it's always good to pick the brain on the lineup HQ settings for a guy like Squirrel who has so much success. You're not hand building, right? You're running lineups out of a lineup builder, correct?
Usually, and I'm hand building my smaller field sometimes, especially qualifiers, stuff like that. Like if I'm in a one entry qualifier, maybe higher dollar qualifier or whatever, I'm gonna put more thought into that than just having some kind of automated process or something like that. I'm kind of thinking through what players do I think are going to be under-owned that I can get leverage on or whatever.
Yeah. Let's, keep on asking those questions. I'm going to get back to it. We got 18 minutes left. Ask some more questions. I'm going to let some more questions build up. Real quick, one of the benefits of the show is that we got the inactive list and we can kind of peruse it before we set our lineups here, and we can talk about it as opposed to doing this thing earlier when we didn't know any of this stuff. Not huge stuff, typically not huge news. Sometimes, yeah. We kind of knew Saquon was going to be out tonight, so he's out tonight for the Giants. Andrew Thomas misses another game. That's a big piece of the offensive line, but what you've seen from the Giants the past few weeks is them without Andrew Thomas, so that's not like anything that's going to startle you tonight. For the Seahawks, Charles Cross is out. He's been out, though, so we've seen how they play without that. Their secondary is taking a hit tonight. Trey Brown, Kobe Bryant, Artie Burns, all inactive. Those guys are all in some way, shape, or form provide depth or a lot of snaps in that secondary. So they are missing some secondary pieces now. I believe Kobe Bryant missed last week. I'd have to pull it up. It's not, they've been in and out of the lineup this year. So it's not like we haven't really seen – I don't think we've seen a game where all 3 of them have been out. So it's going to be interesting. That's the Seahawks, man. That goes well with our Daniel Jones shares, man. And then, trying to 1-off or 2-off some receivers from them because they are missing some secondary depth. Although they do still have some good pieces there, but that always helps. So I think it's interesting. You drawing anything from those inactives that you can use tonight?
No, nothing in particular. I do think the Seattle pass defense is maybe something we want to attack. I think they've given up the most passing yards per game in the NFL so far this year. So yeah, if they're a little bit banged up, that's maybe something we want to continue doing is attacking that pass defense.
I Love Weed says, congrats on the Astros to me. I appreciate that, sir. I was really surprised to get the division. I'll take it, though. And let's go Cowboys. I agree with that sentiment also. Let's go Cowboys. Let me ask you this one from Alan S. Metcalf captain without Geno in the flex for a single entry. Is that a dumb idea is what there is no such thing as a dumb question. I'll send it to Squirrel, though, for the answer.
No, I don't think that's a dumb idea. I mean, most of the time, wide receiver captain's going to bring along his quarterback, but not always. And if that's your way of getting different, as long as you're, that's probably a situation when you want to use most of the salary, especially if it's a smaller field, single entry. But yeah, I think it's something that can hit. So if that's your way of getting different, then go for it.
Okay, so we got 15 minutes. I want to talk about that question real quick. I want your thoughts on this. So Metcalf captain without Geno is playable. You would never do. I assume you wouldn't do Geno captain without a wide receiver, right? That's not really playable. Yeah. But then aren't you? You kind of handcuff yourself with Metcalf and captain without Geno because then you can't play another Seattle wide receiver because then it wouldn't make sense to have 2 wide receivers without any Geno at all, right? So like, or could you, or would you?
I likely wouldn't do that, but we have seen winning lineups. I remember it was like Chris Godwin. I think it was a Tampa Bay Carolina game. Chris Godwin was the winning captain, and there was nobody else from Tampa Bay on the whole lineup. So it can happen, but it's a very specific situation. You want DK to be going absolutely berserk. You need the other guys in the lineup, to be outscoring Geno, at least on like a price considered basis. But yeah, it can happen.
Yep, anything can happen in a showdown. I guess we've seen it all before, or maybe not. We will see it all before it's all said and done, though. Let's see here. Mr. Steven Smith, Yappy Cappy, is in the chat. He says, I'm torn between Wan'Dale Robinson and Paris Campbell. That's the second time that combination has come up, so people are on that one right there. Give him a little refresher on your Wan'Dale/Campbell take.
We don't know what's going to happen. I think Wan'Dale is going to be like, I've got Wan'Dale Robinson projected a little bit below Paris Campbell. I don't think they necessarily eat into each other like that much. I think you can actually play both of them in the same lineup if you want. I think Paris Campbell is going to be higher owned than Robinson. So it almost depends just how much risk you want to take on. But I'm totally fine with using Robinson instead of Campbell. I guess they're about the same price. So you're not necessarily saving any money. You can pair them together. You can use just one. I have a little bit more Paris Campbell than Wan'Dale Robinson, but it's close. And I think in some of my higher dollar stuff, I actually have Wan'Dale over Campbell.
GoFies is asking about Matt Breida tonight without Saquon. How you feel about that one?
Good. I like all the Giants tonight. I'm using a little bit less Kenneth Walker. I'm trying to be under the field on Walker. I think it's absurd that Walker doesn't catch passes, and he's like $2,000 more than the next other wide receiver, running back, or tight end. And I'm taking a lot of that Kenneth Walker ownership and distributing it to the other running backs, to Breida, to Brightwell, and Charbonnet.
Charbonnet, pretty good pronunciation here. What about on FanDuel? Would you say Walker is a lot better than those guys in the FanDuel scoring format?
It's still, I think he's got a good chance of getting priced off the winning lineup, but he's more appealing on FanDuel than DraftKings. I'm not playing as much on FanDuel as DraftKings tonight, but yeah, maybe get him in 20% or more of lineups is okay.
How do you guys feel about kickers tonight? I'll say that in cash games, kickers are always a great way to go. Our old buddy used to work here, Hoop, massive cash game guy. Boy, he jammed both kickers in the cash games on showdowns, and he just crushes. So always a good cash game option. But what do you think about the kickers tonight, specifically as far as GPPs?
I'm not as high on them tonight as I usually am, but I agree. I think cash games, playing one or both is a great option. I like playing kickers in games with really low totals where we don't know, there might be 1 or 2 touchdowns in the whole game. So if somebody's kicking a 50-yard field goal, something like that, they're one of the highest scores in the contest. I like playing them in high point total games where there's a bunch of expensive players. Like if you've got Kansas City and you're trying to get Mahomes and Kelsey in there with some opposing team that's also got high priced players, then sometimes the kicker is almost guaranteed points, right? And they're a way you can make all the expensive guys fit. This game kind of fits in the middle where we've got enough value and the point total isn't super high or super low that I'm not really that high on the kickers as much as I normally am.
Cool. The OS says favorite cheapie on FanDuel. I'll let you pull up the pricing on FanDuel. I will say, from the way I'm looking at it right now, the bottom on FanDuel just doesn't mean the same as that $400 or $600 guy on DraftKings. It's not the same format there. But I would say, as far as the cheapie is concerned, Jackson Smith and Jigba at 7,500. He hasn't done anything in his brief NFL career, but he's really talented. At some point, he'll break out for 7,500. It's probably a good cheap way to go over there, but I'll let you throw a cheapie in on FanDuel that you like.
Yeah, I like Wan'Dale Robinson. I mean, I like like JSN, Wandell Robinson. Noah Fant might see really low ownership. He's 7,000, so a little bit cheaper. He sits, I think, in between JSN and Wandell, and people aren't necessarily going to adjust for the fact that he's in because he was questionable up until inactives came out, maybe an hour ago. So Noah Fant maybe something you would consider might see a little bit less ownership than he would have otherwise.
All right, I'm going to ask this question from Barry Pullman. I already know your answer. I know your answer. If you're using, well, I know your answer to this question in general. If you're using just one guy for GPP, Lockett or Metcalf, who has the better cornerback matchup? Now, your answer is going to be, it does not matter. I will tell you, just based on that question specifically, it's Lockett tonight, but I'm kind of going to go in the same boat as Squirrel here and say it kind of doesn't matter either. I assume that's what your answer is. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, I honestly haven't looked at the cornerbacks for this game because you never know. Is the cornerback going to be shadowing the guy or not? And we'll often hear oh, this cornerback is definitely going to shadow this star wide receiver, and then he doesn't, or vice versa. So the cornerback matchups can be really haphazard, and honestly, both of these guys are guys who can kind of beat any cornerback matchup. Maybe if absolute star cornerbacks, I'm going to downgrade the wide receivers, the star opposing wide receiver a little bit, but that tends to be baked into the projections anyway. I like Lockett a little bit more maybe than Metcalf just because I think he's going to be lower owned. So I think I might be a little over the field on Lockett, a little bit under the field on Metcalf. It really just depends how ownership plays out when we turn over the cards.
Yeah, I like Lockett better. Technically, he does have a slightly better matchup. I don't think it matters. Any offensive coordinator worth his weight in salt is going to move the guys around and get them in the best position anyway. So what is it? I'm not really into that. I used to be into that kind of stuff, but it's kind of just fallen by the wayside. Let me see here. What's the bill? 4-2 Giants. Yeah, I got 4-2 Giants. What's your overwhelming build distribution? 4-2, 5-1, 3-3, and what team does it favor, or are you just kind of all over the place?
I think I'm pretty all over the place. I think I've got a lot more lineups that are heavier on Giants than Seattle. So yeah, probably heavier on the Giants. I think it's probably going to end up being if I don't count it up, but if I did, it would probably be a lot more of the 4-2 Giants Seattle.
All right, Derek Ringering is asking a question here, and I'm gonna let you answer this one. Tonight is his wedding anniversary. Does he take care of business before kickoff or after the game?
I think before kickoff, because then you just don't have to worry about why you're just watching the game. So I'd say before. Hit the workbench before.
I'm assuming, Derek, by take care of business, you're meaning, something erotic, and in which case I'm going to say after the game, you got to have some time. You got to take your time. You can't just rush through just to get to the kickoff. Yeah, it's your wedding anniversary, man. Give her a night to remember, bud. So I'm going to say after. Squirrel says before because he doesn't like that stuff hanging over his head all night long. And he likes to get the stuff over with. But
my wife's asleep by halftime.
Well, you ain't got no choice then. You got to knock it out before kickoff. Jones at captain with 3 Giants pass catchers. Then Metcalf and Walker to finish out that lineup. Large field. Thoughts? It sounds, I don't know how much salary you got left on the table, but if you're anywhere near maxed out on salary, that sounds kind of chalky for a large field. What do you think? Jones and 3 Giants pass catchers with Metcalf and Walker.
I think that's okay. I don't think that's necessarily going to be that chalky, just because the Giant, that means you've got some super cheap Giants pass catcher in there. Because I don't think there's 3 expensive ones. So you're probably going to be a little bit different. And it was Walker and Metcalf, so you don't have Geno Smith in that lineup. I don't think it's necessarily going to be that chalky. I think that's okay.
All right, we got about 5 minutes left, and we're going to get to the Plums play of the night here pretty soon. Let me answer a few more questions. Hodgins or Slayton for you? 2 guys we really haven't hit on that much, considering.
I like Slayton a little bit better. And I'm trying to get down more to the cheaper guys than Hodgins.
We'll concur, but any Giants wide receiver, you almost put their names in a hat and draw one. They're all kind of in the same boat. But let's see. Jones at captain, Robinson, Metcalf, Smith, and Hyatt on FanDuel. Yeah, let me see. Daniel Jones, Wandale. It's all right, I guess. You should be different over there with that one. Dave, you should be all right. Last one from Yappy. Waller or Lockett for the DK cash lineup. Ooh, Waller has been bad this year, considering that in training camp, the best ball bros had me believing he was the next greatest thing. Like he was tied in 3 in best ball drafts. So like Waller or Lockett, which one for you in a cash game on DraftKings?
Yeah, I'd go Lockett.
Yeah, Waller has been a disappointment. You know what? We got about 4 minutes left. We got to get the people the plums play of the day before it's too late. So give me your filling it in your plums, Squirrel. What's your play of the day? You're just feeling this one tonight, brother.
I mean, I want to go just Giants wide receivers, but if I have to pick one, I think it's a long shot. So don't hold it against me. But like Jalen Hyatt is their rookie. I think he's a big play guy. And so he's not projecting very well, but in terms of somebody that can really like just have multiples of their projection on one play, like Jalen Hyatt.
Come on, producer, do we have our plums? Do we have our plums gif here, man? We need it before we give these things out. Come on, guy. But we need our gif here, man. We need our gif. But my plums play of the night here. And I'm sticking with the Giants theme, which is weird. I kind of thought more people would be on Seattle, but I've seen a lot of Giants love here. But I'm going with the Giants also. Fill it in my plums. Play of the night. I'm going Matt Breida. Without Saquon, he outsnapped by a significant margin last week of Brightwell. He got him some targets. The Giants are really nice about giving their running backs some targets out of the backfield, make things easier on Danny Dimes. And Seattle's been known the last couple of years to go ahead and give up some stuff to the running backs in the passing game. So I'm going Matt Breida and hope that kind of pays off. Let's get to a few more here. We got about 2.5 minutes. Then we're going to jump out of here. Is Gary Brightwell in play? Squirrel, you could reiterate your Brightwell take. You love some backup running backs in Showdown, though.
Yeah, exactly. I do. Especially there's like murkiness here, right? We don't know exactly like how things are going to break down between Breida and Brightwell. So I think you want to be over the field on the backup running backs.
Walker or Hyatt in DraftKings GPP captain? Walker or your boy Hyatt? That's an interesting dynamic right there.
Yeah, I mean, I like Jalen Hyatt, but like that's awfully risky to put him in as captain over Walker.
In a large field, that's how you would win if he goes. Yeah. If he does what he can do, he's capable of doing just one time tonight. That's how you win. So, Kirkwood's in chat. He said he just hammered the Giants. That's a nice little bet right there. I found when I did my research, I found myself thinking going in I was going to have a favor Seattle, but I came out favoring the Giants a little. So weird like that. Is DK? This is a good one because it concerns defense. Is a Metcalf and captain okay with the Giants defense in flex? Yeah, what would you say about that in showdowns?
I think that's okay. I try to avoid like the quarterback and the kicker just because like that's super negatively correlated. Like you've got to play somebody from the opposing team. So I think Metcalf's as good as anybody if you're playing the Giants defense, and you got to put a Seattle guy in there.
All right, it's getting dark over here. My green screen's messing up. You can see I'm becoming really weird looking. So that means it's time to get out of here. We got less than 1 minute before kickoff, guys. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. Come back for Thursday, and we'll answer all those questions again. This is that's the fun part of the show is hanging out in chat and answering and asking all the questions. So come back, but for now, for this particular pre-lock on Monday Night Football for Squirrel Patrol, Always Your Chop, we're going to be out of here. Good luck in those GPPs. We'll see you on Thursday.